The Saucony Guide 17. Now these are the updates that I've been looking for. So welcome back to another running shoe review. Today in the spotlight is the Saucony Guide 17. And today I'm going to be sharing with you guys my thoughts on this shoe, some much improved updates from the previous version, which sadly I wasn't a massive fan of. And as always with these first impressions reviews, we'll be going through how I tested them, give you a technical overview before diving in to my first impressions. Very quick disclaimer, this is a pair of shoes that Saucony sent to me for the purpose of review. However, they have no editorial control over this video. I have no idea of my thoughts and they certainly won't see anything before you guys get to see it here on YouTube. So with that out of the way, let's dive in to how I tested them. So far in the shoe, I've managed to get a couple of runs done, both of them being easy runs. I like to try and do an easy run and a moderate run, zone 1 and zone 2, but just because of the schedule that I have at the moment and the way I'm coming back from illness and building back gradually, it just means there's slightly less steady running in my plan at the moment and more easy running. So what I decided to do first off was take it out for a shorter easy run, and then after that I took it out for a slightly longer easy run, both of which were extremely enjoyable. Really enjoyable to the point where I thought finally this is a guide version, a version of the guide shoe that I would really want to continue running in. I found that the 15 and 16 were good, but they just were very uninspiring to run in, a little bit heavy, a little bit bottom heavy. The power run in those shoes wasn't particularly great. It did feel a bit dead, but this one is much improved, and we'll cover all of that shortly. But in terms of testing and how we've done it, we've got a couple of easy runs so far. And let's kickstart this technical overview section by saying I went true to size in this shoe, UK size 13, and it fits perfectly. We're talking about a 6mm heel to toe drop. We've got 35mm of stack in the heel, 29 in the forefoot, and in my UK size 13, it comes in at 346 grams or 12.2 ounces. And as always, we'll start away at the back of the shoe, talk about the heel counter, ankle collar, tongue, lacing, upper, midsole, and finish with the outsole. So we'll start by saying it's an engineered mesh upper, which runs all the way around the shoe. If we start away at the back here, it's a relatively simplistic heel counter, which for a stability shoe, I'm often used to something that's a little bit more built up and a little bit more structured. This very much feels like a standard daily trainer that is a more neutral shoe. And we'll talk about more where the stability features in this shoe come in, because I really did find that it kept my foot in line, no overpronation, and I really did notice the stability features. But back here is not where it starts for me. So if you trace my finger, you can see the heel cup that runs all the way around the back there and all the way down the other side. But at the top, we've got very flexible bumper padding and a very deep cut under the ankle bone. And if you look in there, it's nice and cushioned. Now, considering the weight on this shoe, I don't know if you noticed, but I said 345 grams, with the Ride 17 is 356. So this thing is 11 grams lighter than the Ride, and I've tested the 15, 16 and 17 on both of these versions, and the Ride has always been lighter. So I think that ultimately comes down to the midsole, but we'll talk about that shortly, because this is a pure power run midsole with a power run plus sock liner. Anyway, back to this section. Feels really comfortable back here, nice and soft and cushioned, and the tongue is medium padded. And it's gusseted, meaning it's attached to the medial and lateral sides of the shoe. So we've got just a standard tongue, what I'd say, a cut in the middle to sit over the top of the ankle bone, and it wraps over the top of the foot nicely with that gusset. The lacing system is pretty standard. We've got 6 eyelets going up the side, which is one more than what we saw in the Speed version 4. And of course, we have the extra eyelet hole here if you want to do the runner's knot. And I say it every single time I talk about a Saucony shoe, but the way these things wrap over the top of the foot with their form fit technology is just second to none. I genuinely can't find another brand that does it better than Saucony in this section of the shoe. Moving on to the rest of the upper, as I said, it's engineered mesh. It's not completely see-through, so there's a couple of layers there. So it's not highly breathable, but it's still quite lightweight on foot. Still feels really nice. Some laminate overlays going around the side here with the logo and on this side. Other than that, it's a relatively simplistic upper that runs from top to bottom. And if we move on to the midsole, this is where we start to see the stability features kick in, because we've got some blown rubber going up the sidewalls, which is higher than in previous versions. And this is a full power run midsole, quite a light compound. It feels very similar to what's in the Kinvara 14. In terms of if I grab the Guide 16, this stuff feels so thick and so dense. It had this guide section here, which was quite firm, which this is completely lost in the new version. But this feels a totally different compound to what they're using in this, which is much lighter and much squishier, which is wonderful. It does have a Power Run Plus sock liner in it, so if I can pull that out, you can see here that that runs throughout the shoe, and that's a good 2 or 3 millimeters thick, so that adds to the extra comfort. I'll put that back in a second. But as I mentioned, the rubber blows up the sidewall, so that holds your foot in securely, and that feels good. And there's also center path technology used in the shoe, which I've done some research on. And being completely honest, I'm not entirely sure what it involves. From what I gather, it's the way that your foot rolls through the gait cycle. They've got a rocker at the end of the shoe, which is lovely because it feels like it gives you good forward momentum. I don't think it's their speed roll technology that they use in the Speed and the Pro and stuff like that, but it still feels very, very similar in that aspect. What I will say is when you're running, you really do notice that you land on the outside of your foot, roll through, and there's certainly no collapsing in. So whatever they're using in here, it's doing a good job, and they label it as their modern day way of putting together a stability shoe, basically. So I'm all for it, and it feels really nice. The second thing they've done is really widen the base of this shoe. So again, if we take the 16, we'll see a massive difference in the width of these two shoes. We've got strategic rubber placed on the outside of the shoe and on the back here in the high wearing areas, but a lot of the midsole here is exposed. I can liken it to the Clifton. So I feel that they've done a very similar job in terms of width. If you're used to running in the Clifton, you will definitely enjoy running in this thing. It feels very similar in terms of the width and the platform of the shoe. So that's a big, big change that they've made to it. So those two things alone, with the blown rubber up the sidewalls, the center path technology, and then the width of the shoe, just give it such a stable ride feeling. And it's wonderful because it's in such a lightweight package. So yes, the Power Run in this midsole feels very nice, lightweight, much better than previous versions. A little bit of rubber on the outsole, but as I said, a lot of exposure there of the midsole on the bottom. And that is it for the tech. So now we've got all that out of the way, how did I find the shoe? What were my first impressions of it? Well, the first impression when I got it out of the box, walked around in it at home, was wow, this is a massive update. And the fact that when I weighed it and noticed that it was so much lighter than the Ride 17, and I love the Ride 17, was a massive bonus. The way this Power Run is in terms of a lighter compound, everything about it is great. And I will put my neck out there and say this has been one of the most enjoyable daily trainers to run in this year. Now for me, I do prefer firmer midsole, so this works for me. It's not super soft. If you're looking at a previous video maybe on the channel where I've talked about the Puma Velocity Nitro 3, other end of the spectrum, both really nice daily trainers. I know this is a supportive shoe, and I don't tend to run in supportive shoes that much, but I would absolutely consider running in this on a daily basis based on the fact that hopefully it won't do me any harm, considering I normally run in neutral shoes. But overall, I can't see that happening. I have run in stability shoes before, and I really do want to put more miles in this shoe. Now, I know this speaks to a more niche audience because it is on the supportive side, but I really do feel like it's on a minimal spectrum. So when we're looking at older stability shoes that have all of these guide rails down the side, all of these systems on the bottom here where we've got plastic running through to try and stop you, it just adds to the weight so much. But what Saucony have done here is put together a package that is super lightweight but still does the same job without all of that added onto the shoe. Now for me, as I said, I wasn't particularly fussed on doing moderate running in it. It's not much, well, there's not much fit in my plan at the moment, but with the easy running, it was just an absolute joy. And again, I'll put my neck out there and say I actually enjoyed running in this more than the Nova Blast, which is a massive surprise, but I just found the pop in this shoe, the way it rolls through, the lightweight package. It's only a little bit heavier than the Nova Blast 4, but I find the Nova Blast 4, although it's nearly 100 miles, obviously a lot on the softer side. which I know a lot of people prefer softer midsoles, but it's just a bit too squishy, and I really am preferring this. It's a smoother ride, it's a smoother transition. You don't feel like you're sinking in and putting more effort. You really do glide in this shoe, and it's been such a wonderful experience. For me, overall, I've just got to say, in general, this is the first guide that I've tried that has made me want to put more miles in it. Every other guide, I've done the reviews and I've shelved them. I've not really wanted to put more miles in them, and they've never really got more than 2 or 3 runs. I think this is the one that's going to break the mold. So if you're looking for a more modern day stability shoe in a super lightweight package, this is one to seriously check out. I can't find any flaws with it at the moment. I've only got a couple of runs in it. I will, however, be putting more runs in it, and I'll obviously see how that stands up as we move forward with the mileage. But yeah, overall at the moment, this thing gets a massive thumbs up. So there we go. Those are my initial thoughts on the Saucony Guide 17. Obviously, it's not a mind-blowing shoe that you slip your foot in and go, wow, this is incredible. But I think this is a really, really good step in the right direction for Saucony, providing a good lightweight stability package for so many people. I've got to say, this is a winner for me. And yeah, plenty more miles going in. I'd love to hear from you guys. It's out now on the Saucony website, so I'd love to hear if you guys are going to consider picking this up. If you've been a fan of the guide in the past, then I strongly think that this is going to be a great upgrade for you. It's shed weight, or no, actually that's a lie. It's the same weight pretty much as the previous version, but it's just in such a better package. It doesn't feel bottom heavy. It doesn't feel cumbersome in any way. It really does move through nicely, and I really do feel this will be a strong upgrade for so many people out there. Let me know in the comments below what you think of this shoe. If you're going to grab it, if you're going to pick it up, if you've enjoyed previous guide versions, or if you've not been a fan, drop a comment down there. It'd be great to hear from you, and we can chat more there. That's it from me today, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please do consider giving it a like, sharing it with your friends, and of course subscribing to the channel for weekly running content, and I'll see you on the next one.